I'm Dan.
And I'm Alex.
And welcome back to On Air, everyone. It's a glorious Wednesday. We're well into October now, which is crazy. How are you feeling, Alex? And can you believe that 2025 is already on its 10th month?
It's going very, 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 very fast. I think that is the consensus. Most people feel that way. But especially now, don't you feel that this is the beginning where, I'll give you an example. Today, between today and Friday, I have 4 events in 4 cities that obviously I'm not able to be present. I'm actually not able to be present at any of them. But we enter that period where I'm like, guys, could you not have done something in September? Because I'm not joking, between, let's say, yesterday, the 7th of October, and Friday, 4 major events that each one I would have treated as, well, I definitely have to be there. But because I'm already committed at the 5th, I can't go to 1, 2, 3, 4. And some of them are really cool. And I think I can say this, or I'm going to say it. So one of them was for the Swiss A350.
Oh, they had an event for that.
Well, they are having a relatively small one. Then they're having a bigger one next week. Okay. So a little bit disappointed that I didn't make it for that. There is, of course, there's the aviation festival that's happening in Lisbon, which is gathering lots of the industry. There's something happening in California. There's something I was supposed to be at in Southeast Asia. So, yeah, we're in that season, as you say, where because people can see that the number of weeks remaining of the year are so few and far between, very limited, it's that mad rush.
And it's because no one plans anything during the summer, so everyone's just doing everything now. But yeah, not surprised I didn't get the Swiss invite.
They give themselves like September. Oh, wait, really? Wait, tell me more about that.
I mean, have I ever made a positive video about Swiss? I don't think so. I'm always like overrated. Next.
You know what? Maybe we have a little therapy session rather than a podcast episode today. So, Dan, let's start from the top. When was it that you first felt? Yeah. Who hurt you from the Lufthansa group?
Well, it started with Lufthansa. I mean, let's not get into it, but I say my thoughts in my Swiss reviews all the time.
It started with Lufthansa, and let me just check. When Alex informed you that he was supposed to be at the Swiss A350 event, how did you feel in that moment?
Loads of emotions, mixed, good, bad. But most of all, I know they saw my videos because I was all over Swiss national news last time I reviewed Swiss. So I'm sure that didn't go down so well.
Yeah, I came across this and I want to get your thoughts on it. Okay, I'm going to play it directly into the microphone for ease, but here we go.
I think we really should have never agreed to do self-tagging our bags. We should have never self-tagged our bags because now where does it stop? Today, they just had me put my own bag on the belt behind the counter. It was like, yeah, it's too heavy. Come back here. I don't work here. Okay? I am the customer, not the employee. See, they tricked us with something.
Thoughts, please.
Okay, so here's the thing. As a kid who was obsessed with playing with boarding passes, luggage tags, every time my dad took a business trip, I would ask him to ask the airport staff for extra luggage tags. So at home, I could write on them, I could stick them on stuff. So now, anytime I have to tag my own bag, it's like Christmas. I still love it as a 28-year-old, getting to put the luggage tag on meticulously.
Oh my God.
Getting to take off the 3 little things at the bottom and place them each on one side of the bag. So I know that, it's covered from all angles. This bag will not get lost because I've done the job thoroughly. So that is one part I do enjoy. We're more anti-big check-in on this podcast, but the part of big check-in I enjoy is the self-tagging part.
Right. So I take the complete other end of the table because I am absolutely with this guy. And this video has gone viral on social media. I don't work here, as he clearly states, right? So I don't know where, as a society, we signed up to playing both parts, to doing both roles. And this extends way beyond just aviation. But he's right. He said that, he goes on to say in the video that they said that he had tagged it incorrectly, that actually, no, it was supposed to go on the side handle, not the top handle, and previously. And he kept reiterating the very important fact, which is that he does not work there. He said he's sorry he didn't turn up to training, for the self. Now, I know that in essence, many airports and airlines are working to force this on the public, all in the name of it being absolutely seamless, when it's just purely about saving money on the cost of staff. But in these scenarios, I am much, I feel much more comfortable about supporting livelihoods, supporting
You're so
individuals.
generous.
No, supporting individuals to be able to, who are trained to come to work, to do a good job, to take home that salary. If it's in the US, I think, there's that whole tipping culture, which we won't go into.
Not at the airport.
Okay, fair enough. All right. But still, there is, this is work that they're now making. You know what? We actually don't need a trained professional for that. You can just have the passenger do it. And I feel the same way in the supermarket. I would much rather know that that my food shop is going towards someone who's getting up in the morning, working, hopefully enjoying it, and taking home well-earned money because that's their job, rather than I'm standing at the machine and it's bleeping and it's because you didn't do this. Well, guess what? I'm not trained on 8 supermarket machines, not least those in other countries and elsewhere. And I like the human interaction.
Okay, that's fair, but I'm the type of person who, unfortunately, a lot of the time feels, I could do this better myself. And that's like, so many times when I see someone putting the tag on my baggage, I'm like, is the code a little bit scrunched up? Like, did you mess that up? Is the machine going to read this? And then, that priority tag and heavy tag is, bouncing around a lot. Could that fall in a way that it covers the scanning part when it's being sent to somewhere and the bag gets lost?
In that scenario, who are you talking to? Exactly, you're talking to a human who's able to absorb and hear what you're saying and say, thank you, Nonstop Dan, global YouTuber and traveler extraordinaire. Let me adjust the
That's
bag tag for you.
That's not going to go down well if you tell them, I think that looks a bit, risky.
Yeah, there are nicer ways. I can imagine you're going to be standing there and you'll be pulling faces. I think I'd be like, shall we just, I think also clever use of, when something is obviously wrong, always say we. I'm like, shall we just move that, do you think? And then you get like an agreement. You get the staff member to say, yeah, actually, that's probably better. And then somehow you brainwash them into thinking you came to this decision together or you recognize the problem together.
Yeah,
way better than simply saying, can you? Then you're off to a bad start.
I think I'm damned whatever I say just because of my accent, and you can get away with anything just because of your accent. That's how British and American accents work, unfortunately.
Look, that's not true for all scenarios, but I do think there is a truth in that there are certain sentences, like we could both say the exact same sentence, but somehow yours sounds like you're from Palm Springs and you're absolutely unwilling to lift a finger or whatever. Whereas there is a way with an English accent to kind of, we're all in this together kind of spirit, even though, we are not in many scenarios. So maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe
so let's talk about
right.
something fun. Spirit Airlines.
Said no one ever. What in the world is happening with Spirit? So Spirit are now shrinking their fleet significantly in what is the second 2025 bankruptcy. So in order to quote, better compete with Delta and United, as what they describe as the market dynamics are constantly changing, the chief financial officer of Spirit during a creditor meeting has said that the airline is going to reduce its fleet to 100 aircraft from almost 215. So Spirit, for those that are unaware or living perhaps outside of the US market, operate a fleet of mostly, of all A320 family aircraft. But the reason I said mostly is because there are still some that are of the classic variant, the A320, not so commonly referred to, but technically now known as the A320ceo, which are basically the non-neos, because the rest of the fleet is made up of A320neo and A321neo aircraft. The carrier has filed its motion in bankruptcy court, and that most recently happened just the other day on October 3rd. What date did it happen, Dan?
I don't know. You tell. The
just
date
said to you it
doesn't
happened
matter.
It happened on October. It's a movie quote.
Oh, October
Yeah,
3rd.
forget it. We're moving on.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so it was in order to reject this motion was filed specifically to reject the leases on these aircraft, and they've also separately previously agreed to return aircraft that are owned by leasing company AirCap, which include more Neos and 321s. So basically, the main takeaway here that is important, I think, for the changing landscape of US aviation is that Spirit, in order to survive, are going to do what many airlines do when they are faced with this difficulty, which is to shrink to survive. And that is what we are going to see happening at one of the most significant low-cost operators in North America. What do you think about all of this, Daniel?
Oh, wow. Thank you, Mr. Alex. Look, it sucks for consumers. Obviously, it sucks for the people working at Spirit. It's heartbreaking that a lot of people have to lose their jobs in this tricky economy as well. And it also sucks because I have friends in the US who are still students studying to be doctors or whatever, who really rely on Spirit. For example, one of my closest friends lives in New Orleans. His girlfriend lives in Florida. So he flies every weekend back and forth to be with his girlfriend to Florida. But clearly he can't afford to be flying Delta or United. And the only direct option is on Spirit. So he flies Spirit all the time. And he's traveling only with a backpack, so it suits him perfectly. It's terrible news when a carrier like this decides to shrink. And I also feel like history has shown us again and again that shrinking is never really a good sign. It's very rare that an airline halves its capacity and then somehow thrives, which Spirit is hoping to do here. But this just points to the bigger problem with the US airline market, that no airlines, whether it's Delta, whether it's American, whether it's United, Delta and United especially are among the world's most profitable airlines. But neither of those airlines make much money at all. In fact, most of them lose money from flying. These are, like, compared to the entire rest of the world, there's no real way for US carriers to be profitable, especially have these record profits, without their loyalty programs. Everything revolves around loyalty, credit cards, the points ecosystems, and those are the most important parts.
Such a different story to the rest of the world, isn't it? And I think I'm so glad you highlighted that, because I think there are still so many people that will just find that shocking. I still find it shocking that is reality. That's the state of play. Yeah. Because can you imagine saying that the only reason BA, Iberia, Aer Lingus, Vueling were profitable was because of credit cards? I mean, it would be absurd. It wouldn't, and yet you're absolutely right. That's the bread and butter of those big dominant US carriers.
And that's even the case for a low-cost carrier like Southwest that has managed to really leverage their credit card to offer awards. They have the most thriving low-cost loyalty program of any airline in the world, although they gutted it quite a bit recently, but that's a huge part of their business. Then you have airlines like JetBlue, like Frontier, like Spirit, that are all really struggling financially. And a large part of that is the lack of a revenue generating loyalty program that doesn't, support their bottom line. Another huge problem. Yeah, you go ahead and I'll get to my next problem.
I was just going to add though, on the, Spirit, and I'm sure probably you were coming to this, has also suffered, of course, from the fact that the Pratt & Whitney engine on the A320neo, it just continues year after year after year after year to cripple airlines operations because these engines struggle to work. You and I were on the same flight. I believe that was the day we met each other for the first time on the Lufthansa A320neo flight. And the lady from Pratt & Whitney was sitting across the aisle on the delivery. And I said to her, so when are Pratt & Whitney going to provide this fix for the GTF, the geared turbofan A320neo family engines that were causing so many issues that the reason why we were sat on the Lufthansa delivery was because Qatar Airways was supposed to be the launch customer and the delivery operator for the 320neo, and they gave it up because they knew that the engines weren't going to work with Pratt. And she said to us, what year was that, by the way? This must have been
2016, I think.
Yeah. She said to us, 5 to 7 weeks.
Yeah.
She said, right? And
Good
we're
luck.
now in 2025. Okay.
Yeah.
We're in 2025. Spirit also, just like Indigo in India and so many other carriers around the world, struggling, and this hasn't helped Spirit's situation. It still has 38 aircraft that are grounded because of these ongoing engine inspections. Now, when you add that to the fact that there is a feeling of overcapacity in the US, there is a weaker demand domestically. I mean, domestic is booming in some areas, but Spirit argue that there is a weakening demand domestically, probably less to do with demand and more to do with the fact that there is just such fierce competition that the demand isn't strong enough to fill all airline aircraft on those routes. All of that has left Spirit in trouble. Now, Delta and United have better managed that capacity. They've better managed their mix of higher yield traffic in order to stay competitive. But it does mean that Spirit has kind of been left behind and struggling, and hence why now they're pursuing this shrink to survive strategy, which, as you say, doesn't necessarily work. I mean, this is the second bankruptcy of 2025. Things do not look promising.
Yeah. Another thing that I was going to say is that the staff costs at U.S. Airlines, especially for pilots, but also for cabin crew, are just so astronomical at this point. After COVID, the pilot shortage has returned, and pilots they're making more money than they ever have before. So of course, if Spirit wants to have any pilots, they need to pay them a competitive salary close to what Delta, United, and American are paying their pilots, which these rates that they are paying are so massive compared to most of the world, double what pilots will receive in a lot of other regions, which of course is a huge cost for these carriers as well. And yeah, I don't envy their position. I don't envy what the US airline market has become. And my real question is, what happens in 10 years, 20 years? Because it's not like you can lower the salary of pilots or of flight attendants. No. So, I mean, it can't just keep going up. It's already incredibly high. And at some point, it becomes unsustainable.
Dan, just revisit what you told me just before we started recording about that message, the reaction you had to the video of the service training with Emirates.
Yeah, thank you. We want to have a slight myth-busting session here, because I did get quite a few comments on a reel I posted a few days ago about my day as Emirates cabin crew, sort of. And people were saying, wow, they have to work that hard and they're paid so little. Someone put out a sum of £17,000 as the salary. Some other people were, it was funny, I saw US flight attendants saying, oh, I feel so bad for the crew. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm sure you do, because you stand there at the door and scowl. That tells me all I need to know that they left that comment.
But American flight attendants, don't let him categorize you all in the same basket.
No,
like
there's
that.
lots of lovely...
We love so many of you.
Yeah, there's lots of lovely ones, but you know that the ones commenting that on a reel like that, you know, that's who they are. But this is a very common myth. We see that there's loads of issues for flight attendants in the Middle East, but pay is certainly not one of them. Do you want to elaborate on why and draw some comparisons?
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up some examples, but in a nutshell, it is wrong to state that those that are working as cabin crew at Gulf carriers, for example, are struggle with pay, or that they're not paid enough. They're paid more, for example, than a cabin crew would receive take home at British Airways, the flag carrier of the UK. They're paid more in some scenarios than what some newer contracts, I want to say newer, let's say over the last 10 years, at Air France might pay. That's certainly in almost every scenario paid more than what someone of their experience or of their age would be paid in the US, far more than that. And also, they're not waiting for the door to close to get their pay. They are provided with accommodation, their salary is tax-free mostly, and so there is that, as you say, that myth that, oh, that actually, no, you're far worse off if you are looking at the world and saying, shall I be crew in India or the Gulf or the UK or the US? The Gulf is going to pay you more by far.
Exactly. And it just drives me mad because I think one of the people who commented this was British. And I'm like, if you want to complain about salaries, go to British Airways, because in the Middle East, a flight attendant might make, let's say with their flying hours, $3,000, sometimes $4,000 a month, I've heard, which, consider that is tax-free. Consider that they get free accommodation. They get all meals covered on their layovers, and they're flying a lot. So a lot of their meals are covered. So in the end, they're making a lot of money. Meanwhile, at British Airways, starting salaries are 20 to 30,000 pounds a year with flying hours for crew who have joined in like the last decade. So consider that is taxed at UK tax rates, which is very high. Then that they have to live, many of them have to live in London or around London, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world, and pay rent for that. They are the ones we need to be concerned about pay-wise. I remember I was so shocked. Last year, flying Virgin Atlantic, I was on an 8-hour flight to London. I was chatting with the crew, lovely as always. And one of them went, yeah, it's always a bit tough when we're delayed because I have a 4-hour drive after the flight. I was like, sorry? She's like, yeah, I always take a 4-hour drive to get home. I was like,
what?
You're telling me after every flight, long haul or not, you drive 4 hours, you get behind the wheel and drive 4 hours. She's like, yeah, all the time. That is wild that she has to do that to afford
8 hours round trip to the airport for the next flight.
Yeah, to be able to have the type of life she wants, because clearly maybe she likes living in the countryside, but you can do that closer to London. It's just extortionately expensive. So to have the type of life she wants, she's driving this far after a long haul flight. That is not okay, in my opinion. But it's
well, good little explainer there, because you had that comment. Let's move over to Thailand, where have you seen the videos prior to this announcement? Because they've been coming up for me everywhere on socials. Have you seen the have you seen the viral videos of Thai Airways passengers boarding the ex-Virgin Atlantic A330s, which has the sardine can upper class seats? The
herringbone seats.
The herringbone seats, super dated, sometimes called coffin-like, really awful kind of, they were still around at Virgin until just until very recently on the grand scheme of things, right? So have you seen these videos of Thai Airways passengers shocked when they board at what is this?
I have. They've popped up in my feed so many times, just like you, of people being like, what is that? What is that?
Yeah.
Boarding. And I'm like, guys, this cabin is still flying on dozens of planes for Air New Zealand and Virgin Atlantic. I've never seen someone post that. This is on every single Virgin Atlantic 787. Yeah. This is on most Air New Zealand 787s and all their 777s. But now suddenly when it's on Thai, there's like uproar, which I find quite funny.
Isn't it funny? I mean, that goes to show the state of play, the difference between Asia and transatlantic. So this was regarded as the sought-after luxury upper class of Virgin Atlantic that continues to fly on the world's most premium route, the only billion-dollar air route between the UK and New York, and between London and New York specifically. And there has been no outrage. In fact, it's considered a flex. You get British passengers say, "Oh yeah, went upper class last week to New York." and meanwhile, Thai Airways board this same their passengers board this same aircraft, and there are all kind of reels with the soundtrack, the ghetto and all this. I mean, people are shocked, so much so that Thai Airways, when they first obviously released it, they just said, yeah, this is business class. This is on an aircraft that's come from England. It's from Virgin Atlantic. There have been so many complaints. There's been so many reels. There's been so much pressure and anger in Asia over what is this, and it's not business class, and why do we face each other's feet, and all the realities of this seat, that Thai Airways has done what no airline, I think, anywhere else would do. And they have recategorized the cabin. It is no longer considered business class. It is now premium economy plus, because they say that they received so many complaints that they had no choice but to reposition the product in order to manage expectations. What does it mean? It means that the same cabin of 31 lie flat seats in the dated herringbone design, the one that is the famous Virgin Atlantic upper class, is now a premium economy product offered on regional Thai Airways flights to destinations such as Delhi, Jakarta, Hyderabad, Kathmandu. Thai Airways, having never had a true premium economy, and with real plans to launch it on the 777s and the 787s, I know you know more about that, now forced to launch premium economy much sooner because their passengers were so outraged. I need every Virgin Atlantic flyer to see this, because I find this hysterical. I need Virgin Atlantic management to see it. I need the UK's portion of frequent flyers to see it, because I need them to understand that they deserve better. And you know who knows that they deserve better? The Thai passengers who have said no.
This is why Thailand just continues to prove that they are superior in so many ways.
This is phenomenal.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal.
And I mean, the bizarre thing is that there are already 48 premium economy seats on this aircraft, meaning that in total, Thai Airways will now be selling 79 premium economy seats on flights to Kathmandu, Chennai, Jakarta. Not exactly the most premium routes, but good luck to them. I mean, even from the start, when they introduced these aircraft, I was like, oh no, why would you do this? This is being phased out from Virgin Atlantic for a reason. And I hope and pray that this is a temporary measure while Thai Airways gets their fleet together. They have their massive order of 787s incoming, which we're all very excited for. But in the meantime, this is an interesting way to handle it. I just, no airline should be the airline picking up other airlines' scraps,
No. Yeah. And it's so funny because now you can imagine an Asian family who are based in Asia flying transatlantic from the UK to the US, ending up with that cabin and now factually saying, oh, this is premium economy back home.
And it's $10,000 round trip.
And it's $10,000, sometimes in excess of $10,000 round trip. It is upper class. It's the goal of many, and yet it's not good enough because they know what's good in Asia. So I thought that was really interesting. I also want to thank Adam, who flagged that as well. I had seen it. Yeah, Adam had flagged it yesterday, but I had seen it before. It was on the list for us to discuss because it's not something that we see often, and we salute Thai Airways for actually listening and for thinking, you know what, this is probably not something. Because in fairness, I think they could have just kept with it. They could have said, look, we're short on aircraft, we're getting new aircraft, we've got aircraft on order. Like every airline, we're struggling to boost capacity, and this is an airline jet that has come from the UK on the airline that operates on the world's only $1 billion route. So if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. Instead, you
I
know.
mean, it's not exactly premium routes either. It's routes that can handle those types of seats because the market,
Yeah,
isn't super competitive. All
yeah.
airlines do that. I mean, Lufthansa business class on most of their aircraft, I would say is worse than this. Emirates 777 business class, British Airways Club World, which is still on all the Gatwick-based 777s, the 787-9, the A380. There's many seats on other well-known carriers that are still worse than this. Yet Thai is saying, nah, it's premium economy now.
Love that for Thai.
Yeah.
No, that's a nice fresh take there. Let's stick with premium economy and actually move over from Virgin Atlantic premium economy to British Airways, who quietly launched their new premium economy that nobody knew was even on its way on a Friday night on a LinkedIn post from a senior staff member. I mean, this is bizarre. So I actually opened LinkedIn on Saturday morning. I try not to open LinkedIn too much because it is a bit. Every time I think,
It's
okay, yeah, it's
disgusting. I
really
hate
good.
it.
It is a bit weird, isn't it? It's like, endless celebratory posts of today I completed 3 years, 9 months, 22 days, and 5 seconds, and everyone's like, "You are amazing! You congratulations!" and loads of applause, people that you've never met. I don't know. There is a whole weird side to LinkedIn where I think, oh, it's like Facebook but corporate.
Yes, literally. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so true. So,
But then there are times where I think, okay, that's not bad. Okay, that's nice insight. Anyway, I open it on Saturday morning and I see that a senior staff member of British Airways has put, oh, great to be in Cardiff to pick up. It was a classic like Facebook post from you know
yeah,
from your
your
neighbour's mum,
aunt. Yeah.
right? Yeah, exactly. And great to be in Cardiff to pick up, or to see the 787-9 with the fresh new World Traveller Plus seat. And I'm like, what?
What?
Fresh new World Traveller Plus seat? Now, I like to think I'm pretty across what's happening in the industry, right? But this LinkedIn post is not something that I was expecting. So I'm quickly checking. Nope, no press release. Nope, no official photographs. No launch photos. No,
No, nothing.
over the coming weeks. Nothing in a nutshell. So what a weird decision to launch in this weird unofficial way via LinkedIn. Anyway, let's get to the point. BA have a new premium economy. It is still 232, but it is now with a redesigned winged headrest. The likes that we saw Etihad introduce all those years ago during the golden age of
economy,
Etihad
yeah.
with Nicole Kidman, where they introduced it in economy. So there is now this winged headrest. That is some people love those, some people hate them. It depends. I think they're quite good for privacy. The shell and the armrests are new. There's a darker navy and a black leather upholstery. There's contrast stitching. There are lighter seat backs. It looks like it's maintaining the same screen size. I guess the main standout that people will notice is the winged privacy headrest. What did you think when I sent you this?
Okay, first of all, I saw this before you sent
Do you know
it.
what? I
Okay.
thought to myself, I'm going to say that, and he's going to get his back up in his American accent, and he's going to insist that he saw it before, because God forbid he admit that he found anything out from his podcast co-host.
I saw this
is
in
why,
some obscure thread, okay?
honestly, okay. What did you think when you had seen this from either myself or other sources?
I mean, the funny thing about this that cracks me up is that tell me this is not the nicest looking thing BA has introduced since the
Yes.
pandemic. This is
So
nicer than the
smart.
new first class, nicer than the new economy on European jets. The economy on European jets got a whole press event. They were talking it
know.
up like they were reinventing the wheel. And here we have something that's actually impressive, and it's a LinkedIn post.
Dan, the economy on the short haul aircraft on the A320 fleet, they brought it to Farnborough. That's how proud they were about it. And it's a decent seat. I still haven't flown it because I still think there are only a handful of them in service. So even though I've flown BA short haul so much over the last few months, I still have not flown. Even Demi, my twin sister, she said to me, we boarded a few weeks ago, and she said to me, what? Where's that? I said, what? She goes, why haven't we flown that plane that they brought to Farnborough? I thought that they're all, I said, no, they're not all like that now. That new deliveries are like that. She said, but why haven't we flown it? I said, because, Demi, there are still just a handful of them. And
Yeah.
so we just haven't ended up on them yet. She
We
was
need-
like, but they were really nice.
We need to talk about this because there's a very big misunderstanding between airlines and the general public in terms of what it means when they show a new seat. Like you said
Agreed.
with Demi, British Airways shows this seat. And as a normal person, you would think, all right, that's the seat I'm going to get. Remember I told you earlier we booked a Qatar flight for me and Oscar. Coming up soon in Q Suite. And Oscar was like, oh my God, yay. So we get to try the Q Suite 2.0. And I'm like, no. So this
No,
is
that
what
hasn't launched yet.
Yeah, but this is what people think. When you keep seeing something on social media, it's like that better be one, available, and two, on a decent number of aircraft, or people are bound to get disappointed.
Well, hold on. But the only thing I will say on that point is, I don't know if you've noticed, but if you quickly check through Qatar's Instagram, for example, they actually do not show any images. They do not promote or push Q Suite Next Gen. They haven't done it since the air show. So they announced it at the air show and then it hasn't reappeared since because of that very reason. I think they don't want that confusion. It's
There
not
was
on. Show me
one
what the last time it was posted.
There was
Go
one
on.
time in April around another event that you might
It must have been
recall,
event based.
where
Okay,
there
that's
were a
fair
lot
enough.
of,
It's event based.
But it was another airlines event. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's fine. The World Traveller Plus seat, the new BA Premium seat. Again, I can't understand why they wouldn't have wanted to have a decent launch to talk about how they're investing, to talk about how it's the best of British, to talk about how they've listened to customer feedback and they want, privacy and they want their headrest and they recognize that premium economy is really, really taking on a life of its own globally everywhere and really having its moment. And instead there's the LinkedIn post was so sad and such an unusual way. And instead of people just talking about the seat, the internet was rife with people discussing how on earth was this a mistake? Did the staffer accidentally? But then the staff member was pictured with BA's head of media relations in the same photo. So he seems to have had that sign off. Anyway,
So
BA are going to retrofit this cabin into the 787-9 fleet first, followed by the 777-300ER, and they do say that this is still part of that 7 billion transformation program, which they announced ages ago, and we've had very little evidence of since the announcement. So one can only imagine that 6.9 billion remains.
yeah, I would assume this will go on the E380 as well. I hope so, right?
I hope so, but we haven't had confirmation of it because, of course, it was just a mere rubbish LinkedIn post.
Yeah. Anyway, let's give credit where credit is due because BA has done something very
smart.
good. This is looks
smart.
like a fantastic product. So, bravo.
Yeah, it looks smart. We'll hopefully have something official on this, and maybe we can revisit it. Maybe we can try it. We'll have a look. But it is definitely my first thought was, okay, that does look something that BA should be looking at. And they've gone for a kind of darker tones, a darker palette. It does look pretty smart. Let's go on, before we do an If We Ran, let's go on to a quick update on the 777X program. Surprise, surprise, status of the 777X. Delayed again. First delivery now definitely pushed into 2027. That's a 1-year slip. It means that the aircraft is still around a decade late. The certification and design compliance remains unresolved. Lufthansa and other launch customers are having to adjust their fleet plans, and this is all because of the ongoing kind of difficulties that Boeing continues to face with its quality, but also with the FAA oversight, focusing on their 737 MAX, 787 production issues. It's just the inevitable delay that I think we knew the delay was coming, didn't we? But we've just had kind of a bit more confirmation there.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel? Are you torn? I'm very torn whenever I see the 777X is delayed because the positive part as an av geek is that, yay, this means that classic aircraft like the A380, like the 747, like even the A340 gets a little more life every time. It's like, okay, those aircraft that we love stick around. The bad part of it, is that the new products we're all waiting for, the modern cabins, they end up getting delayed as well. And passengers in every cabin end up getting an inferior experience for longer. So that's how I feel. Do you feel the same?
I feel the same. I agree. And also I feel that it risks starting to hurt the reputation of the 777X before it's even got going, and that's a bit risky as well. So there is that worry too about whether or not this is going to kind of cut through to the public and people start associating an aircraft that hasn't even launched yet with problems. That's always a bit risky. It's a subject that we're going to continue to revisit, that's for sure. Let's do an if we ran. We had many scenarios, many airlines presented to us that they wanted, the listeners wanted us to discuss if we were to run those airlines. I've selected at random, and today, dear co-host, we will do a segment, if we ran EasyJet, and we will start. Let's do a point each. So you do a point, I do a point, and we'll go back and forth. So Dan, what would you do if we ran EasyJet?
Shut it down. No, I'm kidding. EasyJet.
Come on.
EasyJet is a very reasonable low-cost carrier. I flew them for the first time in years, just 2 weeks ago. So I got a nice refresher, which is why I love that you chose this. But what I always end up saying this when I fly a low-cost airline, and one thing I think they do very well is they manage to monetize things that people actually want. Like, for example, the cost difference between buying a 23 kilo bag and then upselling to a 32 kilo bag is so reasonable that I ended up thinking, I don't even know if we'll need a 32 kilo bag, but I'll get one, because I kept looking at, okay, the next one is 26. That's €4 more. 29, €4 more than that. 32, €4 more than that. Oh, it's only €4 more. It's actually 12, but sure, why not? This is something that so many airlines can learn from, because if you try to add 1 kilo of luggage on a full service airline in Europe, good luck. It's $100.
Per kilo. It's crazy. Meanwhile, let us not enter the fiery debate that could be had over the fact that the passenger next to me could weigh 50 kilos more than me, but I'll be paying $100 per kilo for. So we know about that. Okay, my first point of if we were to run EasyJet, I would move away from this, I think, slightly confused strategy on holidays, and I would leave that to TUI and Jet2, because as everybody knows, nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. So if they can't beat them, then why attempt? But actually, it hasn't been a great. Funnily enough, I don't want to dive into this too much, but anyway, Jet2 are not having a great time financially speaking. So apparently things can beat a Jet2 holiday. Yeah, I can come back to that next week. Anyway, I would move EasyJet away from trying to play that game with TUI and Jet2, and I would move them into trying to target all of the British Airways Executive Club members that are about to lose their perks in that massive BA loyalty program, Col. I hate saying that word. Because ultimately BA are wiping out so many frequent flyers by having raised the benchmarks so high in terms of what you need to qualify, that there will be so many free agents, right? Passengers who are no longer loyal, just chasing BA endlessly to get bronze or silver for the bacon sarnie in the overcrowded galleries lounge upstairs. And instead, they will be free agents. I would be chasing them to boost the business traveler demographic on EasyJet, which I think they were very, very good at during Dame Carolyn McCall's period when she was the CEO of EasyJet. There was definitely a focus on competing with the likes of Monarch and also competing with BA and being able to offer business travelers decent perks. So I would be going after them. And how would I be doing that? I would be offering the things that business travelers need. So it's in a nutshell, quite simple. I would be offering business-friendly fare bundles where the seat, speedy boarding, same-day flight changes, easiness on the laptop bag, leniency on your onboard bags. It would be a clear message directly to the executive club members that everything that you were chasing there, you're now welcome to have here at a lower price. I'd have it absolutely easy to change flights on the same day via a decent app. Some fares I would have include lounge access at airports that offer it through partner lounges, whether it's Number One or Aspire. And I would, at the same time as targeting those business travelers to bring them onto EasyJet, I would have the airline more focused on, I'm not worried about the family holiday, but I'm more concerned on being the airline of choice for the massive second home market, because Monarch were really successful at that. When you boarded a Monarch flight in the UK, the plane was split into two. Half the aircraft had second homes in Spain and Portugal. The other half were on golfing weekends. It was those passengers are high spend. They are premium leisure short haul travelers, and that's who I would be targeting if we ran EasyJet.
That's a great point. I also think that EasyJet should make it easier. They don't offer business class, but they should integrate something, since they are already good at upselling, where you can easily pay extra to have a blocked seat next to you. So it's closer to a business experience. But I just know that if more airlines offered that functionality, because look, filling or letting a passenger block a seat is a very good deal for the airline and for the passenger, because the airline doesn't pay taxes on that fare. There's not additional weight being carried. There's not additional admin, all that. They can just generate some extra money that would be close to what a passenger would end up paying to sit there. And I, as a passenger, would love the ability to easily create my own intra-European business, so to speak, because all I really care about is speedy check-in, which you already get if you get speedy boarding with EasyJet. I care about fast track security. I couldn't care less about a lounge. Most people who are flying business have priority pass through some credit card anyway.
True.
But then what I really care about on board is just space, and knowing that speedy boarding plus an empty seat next to me for a reasonable price, that would honestly make me choose EasyJet a lot of the time. Just being able to get those things. That is why I think actually Norwegian has done a fantastic job, because their highest fare bundle, called Flex, is really like a business experience. You get two, I think it's either 23 kilo or 32 kilo bags per person, two carry-ons, fast track security, fast check-in, row one select for free, or emergency exit selected for free. I've ended up, even though I'm gold with BA, every time I've flown between London and Gothenburg this year, I've gone with Norwegian instead, because booking that flex fare is like a business class light for double the price of economy, which still ends up being basically the price of BA basic economy from Gothenburg. So this is something I really think that EasyJet can do to increase its monetization, target people who want more comfort. And I agree with you, go after business travelers by maybe they could offer like a free year of EasyJet Plus to people who have BA status, right? Like a status match to say, come try us out, highlight reliability compared to British Airways, things like that.
And they have so many point-to-point routes across Europe. So they serve a route network that is very, very similar to BA's own route network, and that's why I'd be targeting those. And again, I'd be splitting it between the chase for the business travelers and the premium leisure travelers. It would be good to see, I mean, if we ran EasyJet, I would make sure that digital first approach in an app, that you were able to do everything, plus the guarantee of your cabin bags on board, plus the guarantee that you don't need to be there too early, and all these different things I think would really work. And they were working for EasyJet until they shifted direction. EasyJet went into the pandemic with very much that in mind. So between 2015 and 2020, that was the direction they were on. In the pandemic, they suddenly realized that they became a holiday company, and I think that it hasn't proven to have been as much as a success as what the momentum was building prior to the pandemic, and with a focus on everything that I'd mentioned. So it would also be interesting if they were to be able to offer onboard power. That helps with travelers. But then,
Yep.
mind you, BA that wouldn't. I mean, BA doesn't anyway. Most of their fleet. Actually, no, that's incorrect. Sorry, BA does on the short haul fleet. Yes, it does. It does. So that could bring them a bit more in line there. Fares offering fast track security, way more valuable than lounge access, because that peace of mind that you're going to get through in minutes, no matter what time of the day or what time of the year. So I think we're pretty aligned in what we would do if we ran EasyJet.
Yeah. Nice. I think we gave them some good ideas, right?
Shall we move into Q&A?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so let's start out here with a question from Paul. He's Paul from the Philippines. He basically faced a situation where he was flying from Manila to Bangkok to Nairobi to Johannesburg, and before one of the flights, the crew member ripped off the end of his boarding pass, like you often do, and kept it, while on the second flight, they left the boarding pass intact and didn't take a part of it. So what's with the discrepancy? Why sometimes do they rip a part off, and sometimes they take the little part, sometimes they take the big part, which is even weirder. What's up with that?
It tends to depend on the ground handling agent / airline at that airport and what they need to, what that specific, they refer to them in aviation as stations, but what that specific airport need to keep as evidence. So some airlines just give you back your full boarding pass, because in the digital way that we are today, and in the way that the manifest and the passenger data is all collected within systems, it's just not required. So they hand you back that boarding pass and you tend to be able to keep it. Some airlines, their ground handling agents say that they continue to want to keep evidence of the boarding pass, and then they're disposed after a period of time. So that's why they tear, and some then make that decision, do we keep the small bit and give the big bit to the passenger, or the other way around? So it really just depends, but it's not needed like it used to be. So actually it's more common now, and is more sensible to just hand the full boarding pass back to the passenger, because all of this stuff is digitized and it's all available in the systems. You know exactly at what point the passenger checked in and then also made it through the gate and had been declared as boarded. You don't need, airlines in 2025 are not sifting through papers like, where is it, Dan, where did you, it's not happening.
Isn't it funny still that sometimes, actually on most flights I take, I'd say there's always some announcement like, if Mr. Peter Johnson is on board, could you please alert the crew? I'm like, doesn't the computer tell you if he's on board? Like, shouldn't you guys be able to find this easily?
In those scenarios, it's either they're looking to verify something with the passenger, maybe it's about their luggage, their onward journey, but usually it's just a way to speak to them. But the way that the announcement is framed, it makes them look unsure as to whether or not they're on board in the first place, right?
Yeah.
But that's not actually the case. Yeah, exactly.
Then we have a question here from loyal listener Javier, who says, is it true that Dubai's airport DXB will be shut down once the new airport DWC is completed and operational by 2035? I think for now the plan is yes. True. The plan is yes, but what I predict is that the airports are almost an hour apart. So really, it's crazy because Dubai is built around the traditional airport, DXB. There's very few people who live close to DWC. So sure, the city will eventually build up around there, but for sure, I think a lot of people are going to still want there to be some flights out of DXB. We'll have to see what happens, but I can't see it being abandoned.
The CEO
completely.
of DXB was recently on a podcast. Did you see it?
No.
And I encourage you to watch it. And he was asked the same thing. And he said it's going to be sad, but that is the sad reality, that DXB will no longer be the airport of Dubai, and they'll move to Al Maktoum. And he kind of, acknowledged that, it'll be a shame. And I mean, it is wild. Anyone that was to fly into Dubai today and be told that actually in a few years this might not be the airport, they might just completely abandon it, would think, what? Because the state of play in Europe and the US.
Yeah, so, exactly. So
I have a question from Erin. I'm going to quickly do it. It says, "Hi Dan and Alex, love the podcast. With all that's going on in aviation, a US airline going bankrupt, tariffs squeezing airline finances, Icelandic low-cost play vanishing, and British Airways ditching the hot breakfast, why exactly is France struggling to keep a prime minister, and would either of you consider taking the job?"
No comments.
We end up into politics. France is struggling to keep a prime minister because, like airlines, politics constantly runs into difficulty. I mean, I'm trying to come to some kind of clear answer. Let us not talk about the fragmented parliament, the fact that after Macron's snap election last year, the National Assembly was left deeply split among the centre and the left and the right, and all this mess with debt and deficits and budget pressure and so on. But also, if he requires our services, he can send us a DM to the Instagram at On Air with Dan and Alex. And Dan wouldn't say no. He pretends he's not interested. He'd be the first one on Air France straight there thinking that this YouTuber knows how to save the French government.
Exactly. All they need is a blocked seat next to you. All right. Yeah. Question from Alicia here that we will end with. Hey, Dan and Alex. Day one listener here, and I'm so excited to have you back after a long summer break. I wanted to get your thoughts on a recent development from Emirates. They have announced that they will no longer allow children ages 8 and under to have miles redeemed for them for a first class upgrade or ticket.
Woohoo!
Please, here we go. Please note that passengers aged 8 years old or below are ineligible for first class Emirates Classic rewards and upgrade rewards. Personally, I think this is an absolute win. I've had multiple Emirates first class flights ruined by screaming children and parents who refuse to discipline them. With my most recent EK first class flight from Dubai to LA that I paid cash for was ruined by 2 children screaming, running in the cabin, banging on the suite doors of myself and other passengers. On the
What's
almost
this
16-hour flight, Alicia. So
Alicia, where to even begin?
Hold on. So the crew were fantastic and extremely apologetic, but as they are limited in what they can do to calm the children of passengers, the flight was unpleasant to say the least. I would love both of your input on how this could affect EK First moving forward.
I think it's a decent way. Don't forget, they're not banning kids from first class, but they're banning the redemption of points for kids. And I do think it's probably based on feedback like yours, Alicia. It's one of the most expensive ways to fly bar private jet, and therefore, it can be ruined if you have, as you mentioned, parents that are refusing to discipline their kids and crew that can only do so much because the crew's primary job is not to discipline those kids. Alicia, I'm with you. I think this is welcome news. And I don't mean that we should have kid-free, well, I don't mean it everywhere about kid-free cabins. I mean, even saying the idea, I'm thinking, does that sound good? I don't know. So maybe one frequency a day.
Okay, so my take is this. I really don't like that they've done it only for redemptions, because look, if you're going to have,
you are a points boy.
No, but if you're going to have a kids free, then you need to go all the way, because my theory is this, controversial opinion incoming. The people who are redeeming points for first class are far more likely to see it as a very special experience and realize I need my kids to behave, because this is it's a rare treat to be in first class. It's going to be the people who are so rich that they can book 4 or 6 tickets in first, who couldn't care less what their kids are doing because they have that sense of entitlement and just I can do whatever I want. So it's still going to be the people paying cash who are the problem. The points people are just trying their best and they're being unfairly punished. So that's my take.
Do you know what? He's absolutely right, isn't he? I think he's right. Alicia, I think he's right. He's got a point. See, we all learned something on the episode.
Exactly.
Dan, It's been a pleasure. Let us wrap and reunite at the same time, same place next week. Remember, guys, that you can leave a review for the podcast as a whole on any of the major podcast platforms, including the podcast application on Apple, but also with Android, with Google Podcasts, and Spotify, where most of you are listening, as well as YouTube. Please, if you do enjoy the podcast, give us 5 stars. It does help the podcast work its way around and introduce us to new listeners, to our ever-growing On Air with Dan and Alex family.
Well said. All right. And on that note, we'll catch up again next week right here on air. See you later.
Bye, guys. See you.